My phone vibrates on my polished glass desk, the screen flashing a name I haven't seen in years. Dad. I watch it pulse against the sleek surface, a stark contrast to the battered oak table I once huddled over as a kid drowning in homework. Outside my high-rise window, Chicago's skyline gleams in the afternoon light, a far cry from the dusty roads and rusted mailboxes of my rural hometown. I let the call ring out, my leather office chair creaking as I shift my weight. 3 seconds later, a notification pops up. An email from Lawrence Hayes. Subject line, "Your brother needs you. Last chance." My stomach tightens. I open it, the words blurring together until one line snaps into focus. Mark's wedding is the most important event of his life. Be there or forget about any future support. The old guilt seeps in the familiar choke of duty, but I clench my jaw and shut the laptop. A voicemail notification follows. I swipe to play it on speaker, leaning back as my father's gravelly voice crackles through the line. "Maya, it's your father. I don't know what grudge you're holding, but this has gone on long enough. Your brother's wedding is in 2 weeks, and the festivities start this weekend. If you can't put aside your stubbornness for his big day, then don't expect any future support from this family. Your mother is worried sick. Call me back." I snort, the sound sharp in my quiet office. I cross the room, reaching into my closet for my framed diploma, still wrapped in the same tissue paper it arrived in 3 years ago. Maya Thompson, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, summa cum laude. 3 years of collecting dust hidden behind winter coats. I never hung it up. Old habits die hard. My phone buzzes again. A text this time. "Mom, please call. Your father is getting impatient." I glance at my wall calendar, a red circle around Mark's wedding date. 2 weeks of parties, rehearsals, and forced family photos. I tap open my banking app. $164.250 in savings. More than enough to never need their support again. They just don't know it yet. A flash of memory. 3rd grade clutching my report card with straight A's. My mother barely glancing up from her People magazine. "That's nice, honey." That same night, the living room erupting in cheers over Mark's participation ribbon from his Little League game. I can still hear my father's booming voice. "Did you see how he hit that ball? My boy's got talent." In high school, it was the same story. I won a statewide science fair for my project on water purification, but my parents missed the award ceremony. They were at Mark's soccer match. He'd scored a single goal, a story they retold for weeks. My father's words echoed in my mind, thick with pride. "That's my boy." My achievement, the blue ribbon I worked months for, remained unacknowledged, gathering dust like my diploma. The final straw came senior year. I got a full scholarship to Northwestern. The letter arrived thick and promising, my heart racing as I tore it open in the kitchen. Mom frowned as she read it, her fingers twitching nervously. "That's so far away, Maya. Mark will feel inferior if you go there while he's just at community college. You should stay close." Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. "We've discussed this. You're staying local. End of story." I nodded, playing my part, knowing they'd already written my future without my input. But 2 weeks later, I was on a bus to Chicago, my life packed into 2 suitcases and a fake address on my parents' tax forms. My first real taste of freedom. Now, standing in my apartment, my diploma in hand, I realize how far I've come. I place the frame back on the shelf and cross to my laptop. I hover over the airline booking tab, my fingers poised. I can almost hear their voices, disapproving, demanding, always pushing me back into my assigned role. But not this time. I press book and let out a slow, measured breath. They've always underestimated me. This time they'll see exactly who I've become. Next stop. A reckoning years in the making. The rental car's tires crunch over familiar gravel as I pull up to the sprawling, white-paneled house that once felt like a cage. Wedding decorations spill across the lawn. Ivory fabric draped over the porch railings, white roses stacked in crates by the door. The whole place looks like a bridal magazine threw up on it. My mother opens the door before I can knock. Her hair, freshly highlighted to a perfect honey blonde, frames her strained smile. "Maya, you made it. I step into her too tight hug, the faint scent of vanilla candles clinging to her like a mask. She pulls back, her eyes darting over my designer handbag and tailored coat. Decided to support your brother after all? I force a smile, biting back the urge to mention that I've supported myself just fine without their help for years. Something like that. Inside the house is a maze of wedding chaos. Folding tables groan under the weight of floral arrangements, place cards, and monogrammed napkins. My father appears from his study glasses, perched on his nose, a clipboard in hand. He doesn't bother with a hug, just nods at me. Good you're here. The welcome bags need assembling and the programs need to be folded. They're in the dining room. I drop my bags by the door, the weight of old expectations settling back onto my shoulders. I just got here, Dad. Exactly, he replies, turning back to his checklist. From the staircase, a voice cuts through the clatter of wedding preparations. No, I said, cascading arrangements, not clustered. This is literally ruining everything. I look up to see Mark's fiancée, Emma, descending the stairs, phone pressed to her ear. She spots me and raises a single manicured finger, the universal sign for hold on. Do you understand this is the most important day of my life? She snaps into the phone before hanging up with a huff. She turns to me, her perfectly painted smile a little too wide. Maya, you're here. She air kisses the space near my cheek. Thank God, we're drowning in last-minute disasters. I glance around at the chaos. The half-folded programs, the scattered ribbons, the neglected welcome bags. Looks like you've got your hands full. Emma's smile tightens. Mark said you were good with logistics. Maybe you can whip this mess into shape. My jaw tightens. I didn't come here to be their unpaid event coordinator, but I swallow my pride and nod. Sure. As I turn to pick up a stack of guest lists, Emma grabs my arm. Oh, and you'll meet Mark's friend Tyler at dinner tonight. He's an investor. Super successful. I think you two will hit it off. I force another smile, already dreading the forced small talk and thinly veiled matchmaking attempts. Looking forward to it. In the dining room, I find the welcome bags my father mentioned. Branded tote bags stuffed with overpriced local trinkets and personalized water bottles. I start folding programs, my fingers moving on autopilot, my mind elsewhere. I glance at my phone, a new text from my mother blinking on the screen. Don't embarrass your brother at dinner tonight. He's under enough pressure as it is. I clench my jaw. For once, they'll see me on my terms. They just don't know it yet. The long dining table gleams under the chandelier, the polished mahogany reflecting the flicker of white candles and perfectly arranged floral centerpieces. I take my seat near the middle, wedged between my Aunt Carol, who immediately launches into a monologue about her latest book club drama, and my mother, who keeps adjusting the silverware with nervous, twitching fingers. Emma glides in her white cocktail dress, swishing as she plants a kiss on Mark's cheek. He beams up at her like she hung the stars. I swirl the wine in my glass, noting the way his eyes follow her every movement. He's always been easy to impress. A golden retriever in human form. The clinking of forks and soft murmurs of small talk fill the room as we settle in. Mark clears his throat, raising his glass. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here, especially my beautiful fiancée Emma, who's made this all possible. A chorus of hears echoes around the table. I clink glasses with Aunt Carol, who has already emptied hers. The door to the dining room creaks open, and in walks Tyler, the so-called successful investor Emma had mentioned earlier. He's tall, sharply dressed, and radiates that too polished confidence I've come to recognize from a mile away. The kind that screams, I'm hiding something. Tyler Mark calls, waving him over. Meet my sister Maya. She's in data science or something. Super smart. I plaster on a polite smile as Tyler slides into the empty seat beside me, his watch catching the candlelight. Maya, right? He extends a hand, the cuff of his sleeve perfectly starched. Mark's told me about you. Working in the big city, making waves. Something like that. I reply, shaking his hand. His grip is firm, but his eyes flicker with the slightest hint of surprise. He wasn't expecting someone like me. Good. Dinner is a drawn-out affair, the conversation jumping from wedding plans to Mark's recent promotion at the family business. A cushy position Dad handed him straight out of college. I pick at my salad, trying to ignore the familiar pang of resentment. "So what exactly do you do?" Maya Tyler asks during a lull in the chatter. "I'm a data analyst for a tech firm," I reply, keeping my tone light. "Mostly predictive modeling and market analysis." Tyler leans in his teeth a little too white as he flashes me a grin. "Ah, numbers. That's impressive." "I dabble in investments myself. Crypto real estate, a little private equity." I arch a brow. "Interesting mix. Where do you usually invest?" He pauses just a fraction too long. "Oh, you know, here and there. I've got partners in Singapore, Zurich, Dubai. The whole global network thing." My instincts prick. I've heard this song and dance before. The vague claims, the scattered geography meant to confuse rather than clarify. Must be tough managing all those time zones. He chuckles, swirling his wine. "It's a challenge, but worth it. I'm all about finding undervalued opportunities." I lean back, catching my father's eye from across the table. He's watching us clearly, hoping this conversation turns into a business connection. I offer Tyler a tight smile. "Maybe we can swap notes sometime." Emma jumps in, sensing the tension. "Maya, you should hear about Tyler's latest venture. He's doing something truly revolutionary in the blockchain space." I meet Tyler's eyes, and for a split second I see it. The crack in his polished exterior. He shifts in his seat, adjusting his watch. "Yeah, we should definitely talk." As the evening wears on, I find myself watching Tyler more closely, catching the nervous way he glances at his phone every few minutes, the forced laugh that doesn't quite reach his eyes when someone asks about his investments. After dessert, as the guests start to drift into the living room for after-dinner drinks, I slip away to my childhood bedroom, now a carefully curated guest room, and pull out my laptop. A few quick searches confirm my suspicions. Tyler's name doesn't pop up on any major financial platforms. No LinkedIn, no firm registration in Singapore, Zurich, or Dubai. Just a few half-hearted mentions in small, forgotten press releases, the kind used to pad a thin resume. I close my laptop, my heart beating a little faster. I've seen this before. The carefully constructed web of vague promises and inflated reputations. I was hoping for a quiet trip home, but it looks like my brother has tangled himself up with a con artist. I slip back downstairs, finding Tyler in the corner with my father, their heads bent close in whispered conversation. My father's eyes light up as Tyler taps something on his phone, their voices a low murmur over the soft hum of classical music. As I cross the room to refill my wine, Emma catches my arm. "Having fun?" I glance over at Tyler, whose confident smile has returned now that my father is thoroughly hooked. "Oh, you have no idea." I'm not sure what Tyler's game is, but one thing is clear. He picked the wrong family to scam. The morning sun cuts through the thin lace curtains of my old bedroom, spilling soft golden light across the faded quilt my grandmother made decades ago. I stretch my muscles stiff from a night spent piecing together half-forgotten family dynamics, and the uneasy feeling that Tyler's presence is more than just a coincidence. Downstairs, I hear my mother's voice, sharp and urgent. I slip on a sweater and pad down the hall, catching the tail end of her conversation. "You can't be serious, Lawrence. A second mortgage?" This house was almost paid off. My father's gruff response rumbles up the stairs. "It's called leverage, Helen. You wouldn't understand. Tyler said it's a guaranteed return. Minimum 20%. It's a smart move." I freeze halfway down the stairs, my heart thudding. A second mortgage. My parents have always been careful with money. Too careful, really. This isn't like them. I pause at the bottom step, peering around the corner. My father stands in his usual spot by the fireplace, his reading glasses perched on the edge of his nose as he flips through a thick stack of documents. My mother's hands twist together, her wedding ring flashing in the morning light. "But $15,000, Lawrence," she whispers, her voice thin with fear. "That's our savings, our retirement." He waves a hand dismissively, not even looking up. "You're being dramatic. Tyler has connections, real opportunities. This is how we build real wealth." I slip back up the stairs, my mind racing. Tyler's grin from last night flashes in my mind. Too polished, too practiced. I know the type. The kind who talks in circles, who drops just enough buzzwords to sound legitimate without ever saying anything concrete. Back in my room, I grab my laptop and settle onto the old, creaky desk beneath my childhood bulletin board. still pinned with yellowing ribbons and fading photos from forgotten school events. I start pulling threads, tracing Tyler's digital footprints, searching for the gaps in his story. Half an hour later, I have a growing list of red flags. Tyler's supposed global network doesn't exist, or at least not in any legitimate financial sense. His name is tied to a handful of shell companies, most dissolved within a year of incorporation, their websites little more than placeholders with generic stock photos and vague promises of disrupting traditional finance. I dig deeper, finding traces of his previous identities. Aliases shuffled through like cards in a well-worn deck. Ethan Lewis, Edward Lambert, Tyler Lawson, each one with a trail of angry investors, unpaid debts, and collapsed ventures. I sit back, my pulse racing. My brother's fiancé has brought a professional scam artist into our family, and my parents are on the hook for their life savings. A soft knock at my door startles me. I close the laptop, my heart still pounding. "Hey." Mark's voice filters through the crack as he pushes the door open, leaning against the frame with his usual casual confidence. "You're up early." I force a smile, closing my laptop with a calm I don't feel. "Old habits. I like to get a jump on the day." He grins, stepping into the room and glancing around at the remnants of my old life. "Man, it's weird being back, right? I feel like a kid every time I walk in here." I nod, studying his face for signs of stress or doubt, but he just looks happy, clueless. I wonder if he has any idea who he's about to marry. Mark flops onto the edge of my bed, leaning back on his hands. "You know, I'm really glad you came. Emma was worried you'd ghost us again." I raise an eyebrow, bristling at his casual tone. "Ghost you? I've been living my life, Mark. It's not like I vanished into thin air." He chuckles, oblivious to my growing frustration. "Yeah, but you know how Mom and Dad are. They always say you were the responsible one, the one who'd keep the family together." I bite back a bitter laugh. "They never said that. They said I was the difficult one, the rebellious one, the daughter who dared to leave, who refused to play the part they'd written for her." Mark's phone buzzes in his pocket and he pulls it out, his face lighting up at the screen. "Emma's got the caterer freaking out again. I better go." He stands, clapping me on the shoulder like a football coach. "It's good to have you here, Maya. Really." I watch him leave, his footsteps fading down the hall as I turn back to my laptop. My fingers hover over the keyboard. I could confront Tyler, directly tear his fragile house of cards down right here, right now. But something stops me. A flicker of caution, the memory of every time I was dismissed, ignored, pushed aside. If I'm going to do this, I need proof, undeniable and devastating. I close my laptop, the screen reflecting my own hard eyes. If Tyler wants to play games, he picked the wrong family. I spend the next few days playing my part, folding programs, stuffing welcome bags, and smiling through endless rounds of small talk. But every free moment, every quiet second, stolen from the chaos, I'm digging deeper into Tyler's tangled web of deceit. I comb through old business directories, financial records, and LinkedIn profiles, piecing together his trail of failed startups and dissolved companies. The more I dig, the clearer it becomes. Tyler isn't just an opportunist. He's a professional grifter, a ghost in the financial system, slipping through cracks and loopholes with practiced ease. Each discovery sharpens my focus. The flimsy press releases touting his so-called blockchain expertise. The lawsuits quietly settled out of court. The investors left hanging as he slipped into the shadows with their life savings. One afternoon, while everyone else is at the church for a rehearsal I conveniently forgot to attend, I settle into my father's study. The heavy oak desk is exactly as I remember, cluttered with old golf trophies, dusty paperweights, and the lingering scent of my father's aftershave. I open his desk drawers, my pulse spiking when I find a thick folder labeled Retirement Fund. Inside, I find exactly what I feared. A recent wire transfer for $15,000 to a company I recognize from my search, Lawson Global Investments, one of Tyler's shell companies. I flip through the pages, my chest tightening as the pieces fall into place. The second mortgage, the retirement fund, my parents' nest egg, all funneled into Tyler's latest scam. My fingers tremble as I scan the numbers, the zeros blurring together. They've poured everything into this, betting their future on a man who probably won't even stick around for the wedding cake. I shove the folder back into the drawer just as the front door creaks open. I slam the drawer shut and dart out of the study, slipping into the hallway, just as Emma's shrill voice echoes through the foyer. "Lawrence, did you talk to the caterer about the champagne upgrade? We can't serve Prosecco at a wedding like this." I roll my eyes, slipping into the kitchen to steady my nerves. I pour myself a glass of water, my hands still shaking as I lean against the cool granite countertop. As I take a deep breath, I hear the soft creak of the side door. I peek around the corner and see Tyler slipping in, his jaw set, his movements too quick, too sharp. A man on edge. He brushes past the foyer and heads straight for the study. I follow my footsteps light on the polished wood floors, slipping into the shadowed hallway just as Tyler closes the study door behind him. I inch closer, my ear pressed to the cold wood, straining to catch his muffled words. "No, I told you it's under control," he hisses, his voice a harsh whisper. "No, they have no idea. The old man's so desperate for a return he'd sign over the house if I asked." I press my palm against the door, my heart hammering in my chest. "No, I don't care what the lawyer said. I'll have the money by the end of the month. The wedding's just a formality. Once the check's clear, I'm gone." I stagger back, my mind spinning. He's planning to bleed my family dry and vanish, just like he's done to countless others. The door swings open, and I barely have time to duck into the guest bathroom as Tyler storms past, muttering curses under his breath. I lean against the cool tile wall, my mind racing. I can't just confront him. I need solid proof, something undeniable, something that will rip his carefully constructed facade apart. Back in my old room, I sit on the edge of my childhood bed, my fists clenching in the faded quilt. I can feel the walls closing in the familiar weight of helplessness and frustration pressing down on me. I stare at my laptop, my mind racing. I need to be smarter than him, faster, one step ahead. Then it hits me. The old church office. The small, musty room behind the sanctuary where the church keeps its Wi-Fi router. The same Wi-Fi Tyler has been using for his constant phone calls and shady business dealings. I grab my laptop and head for the door, slipping out into the cool evening air. The walk to the church is short, the streets quiet under the glow of flickering streetlights. Inside the building is dark and empty, the faint echo of my footsteps the only sound as I slip down the narrow hallway to the office. I flip the light switch, the fluorescent bulbs flickering to life with a harsh buzz. I crouch beside the router, prying open the dusty casing with the edge of my credit card. My fingers work quickly, connecting my laptop to the router's admin panel. I tap into the logs, my breath catching, as Tyler's encrypted messages flash across the screen. I copy everything, every text, every email, every call log. I pull the entire chat history from his phone's MAC address, dumping it into a secure folder on my laptop. As I watch the files transfer, the knot in my chest loosens. I've got him. Cold digital proof of his lies, his scams, his betrayal. I slip back into the house, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. I close my laptop and lean back in my creaky desk chair, my mind already racing ahead to the next step. I'm not just going to expose him. I'm going to destroy him and make sure my family sees exactly who they almost handed their lives over to. The morning of the rehearsal dinner, the air is thick with the scent of freshly cut flowers and nervous energy. I step out onto the back porch, my laptop clutched in one hand, the other gripping my morning coffee like a lifeline. The yard is a whirlwind of activity. Caterers rushing back and forth, Emma barking orders into her phone, my mother nervously rearranging centerpieces on the patio tables. I take a deep breath, letting the cool morning air clear my head. I've spent the past few nights piecing together every scrap of digital evidence I pulled from the church Wi-Fi. The chat logs, the bank transfers, the private messages, all carefully compiled into a devastating dossier. Tyler's entire scam exposed in stark, undeniable detail. I spot my father near the garage, inspecting the rental chairs with a critical eye. I stride over, my heart pounding. "Dad, we need to talk." He looks up, frowning at my serious tone. "Can it wait, Maya?" "We've got a lot to get through today." "No," I say firmly, my voice steady. "It can't." He sighs, glancing over his shoulder as a pair of florists breeze past arms full of baby's breath and ivory roses. All right, make it quick. I lead him into the empty garage, the harsh fluorescent lights casting long shadows over the neatly stacked folding chairs and half-unpacked boxes of decorations. I set my laptop on a dusty workbench, turning the screen toward him. "What is this?" he asks, squinting at the screen. I tap the trackpad, pulling up the first set of messages. Tyler's texts to his partner, casually discussing my parents as Easy marks their savings a quick score before he vanishes. My father's jaw tightens, his fingers curling into fists as he reads. "Keep scrolling," I say, my voice cold. It gets worse. He does, his face paling as the full extent of Tyler's scheme unfolds. The second mortgage, the retirement account, the fake investment returns. It's all there, laid out in brutal, irrefutable detail. When he finally looks up, his eyes are hollow, his skin ashen. This can't be right. Tyler wouldn't do this. He already has. I say, my voice sharp with the anger I've kept bottled up for years. He's done this before to other families. He was planning to cut and run as soon as he had the money. He's a con artist, Dad. My father stumbles back, his hand gripping the edge of the workbench for support. For a moment, I see the man I remember from my childhood. Strong, unshakable, the center of our world. Now he just looks small, his shoulders hunched, his confidence shattered. Why didn't I see this?" he whispers, his voice cracking. "Because you didn't want to." I snap the words, spilling out before I can stop them. "Because you were so busy being proud of your perfect son, so blinded by your own expectations that you couldn't see the obvious." He stares at me, his mouth working soundlessly, his eyes filling with a mix of anger, shame, and something like fear. I slam the laptop shut, my pulse racing. This is what happens when you ignore the people who actually care about you. When you push away the ones who try to warn you. I'm done being ignored. I turn on my heel, leaving him standing there, the echoes of my words ringing in the air. The rehearsal dinner is a tense, stilted affair. My father doesn't speak to me. His jaw clenched, his eyes fixed on his plate as the speeches drag on. My mother fidgets beside him, her fingers worrying the hem of her napkin, her eyes darting nervously between me and my brother. Emma floats from table to table, her bright smile never faltering, completely oblivious to the storm about to hit. And then, just as the waiters begin clearing plates and the band strikes up a slow, romantic tune, Tyler stands raising his glass for a toast. I just want to say how honored I am to be joining this amazing family. He begins, his voice smooth, his smile practiced. I've never felt more at home, more welcomed. You've all been so generous, so supportive, and I promise to spend my life making you proud. The guests murmur their approval, clinking glasses, raising their flutes in a shimmering crystal chorus. I push my chair back, the legs scraping loudly against the polished wood floor, drawing every eye in the room. I meet Tyler's gaze, holding it, my heart thundering in my chest. Actually, Tyler, I say, my voice cutting through the soft strains of the violin, I think it's time we had a little honesty. A hush falls over the room, the clinking of glasses fading into stunned silence. Tyler's smile falters, his eyes narrowing as he slowly lowers his glass. I set my laptop on the head table, tapping the screen to life. The projector hums as I connect the feed, the first slide of my carefully crafted presentation flashing onto the wall behind me. Let me tell you all a little story, I say, my voice echoing through the stunned silence, about a man named Tyler and the many, many lives he's ruined. Tyler's face drains of color, his eyes darting around the room, searching for an exit, but the guests are too tightly packed, their attention locked on the unfolding train wreck. For the next 5 minutes, I lay it all out. The shell companies, the fake investments, the stolen money. I flick through chat logs, bank statements, legal filings. Every dirty secret, every whispered lie, every dollar siphoned away into the abyss. When I finally stop, the room is dead silent. Emma's face is frozen in a mask of horror, her fingers clutched around her champagne glass, her knuckles white. Tyler stumbles back, his chair clattering to the floor as he bolts for the door. Two of my father's old golf buddies stand blocking his path, their faces set in hard, angry lines. My father rises slowly from his chair, his face a mask of betrayal and rage. "You son of a bitch!" he growls, his voice low, deadly. Tyler backs away, his hands raised, his polished confidence crumbling into raw, naked fear. I stand there, my heart racing, my pulse thundering in my ears as I watch the man who tried to destroy my family crumble under the weight of his own lies. I take a deep breath, my hands trembling as I close my laptop and turn to face my stunned, silent family. "I tried to warn you," I say quietly, my voice shaking but clear. "But you didn't want to listen." I walk out, the sounds of shouting and chaos echoing behind me, the cold night air hitting my face as I step outside, finally free. Story 2. I hang the brass home key on the little wooden peg beside my front entrance where it catches the afternoon light. My front door. My tongue still feels strange when I say those words. Similar to a language I'm still studying. I own this house at the age of 22. It's all 800 feet. In the corner of my living room, a second-hand armchair is crookedly waiting to be perfectly positioned. The life tales of another family are preserved in the tattered cloth. It's mine now, though, but with money from Madison Avenue's second-hand shop. I imagine peaceful nights spent reading as I brush my fingertips across the slightly tattered armrest. Coffee in the morning, a life that I create for myself. Long rectangles are formed on the hardwood floor by the sunshine streaming through the unadorned windows. I ought to get curtains, perhaps the light yellow ones I seen at the doorbell. My heart leaps. I pause and look at the front door as if it should speak for itself. I have no expectations. My supervisor at the car store, Gordon, is aware that I'm using the weekend to get settled. Yesterday, the realtor delivered the last set of documents. Again, insistently, the bell tolls once again, this time. I take slow, deliberate steps through the crowds as I make my way to the door. The familiar faces become practically gigantic when viewed from a fisheye perspective. Martin Morgan, my father, takes center stage. His practiced smile was too big. With her lips pushed into a tiny line, Mother Linda hovers slightly behind his shoulder. Kayla. My sister seems worn out. She has dark rings around her legs and under her eyes. God, please. For kids? Because on my tiny front porch, tiny cyclones of energy are already wriggling and shoving against one another. I open the door with trembling hands, barely able to talk through the opening. We are separated by a rigid security chain. Unexpected. The sound of Father's voice echoes over the doorway. We're here to get back in touch. Mother looks behind me and takes in the view of my living room. Tessa. Oh, the house is very little. The boy was the youngest, 3 at most. Before I can react, it darts beneath my security chain and into the space between my father's knees. A swarm of little feet and high-pitched voices is followed by his siblings. Wait, kids. They are in my living room already, but Kayla makes a feeble call. The little one heads directly for my bookcase where the picture of Grandpa Harold is displayed in its plain frame. He reaches for the drink with his sticky fingertips. Don't. My throat tightens at the word. I'm standing in my childhood bedroom at the age of 17. I remember the sound of Mother's voice. For the nursery, Kayla needs the room. Tessa, you're old enough to understand. I loaded my belongings into Grandpa Harold's old pickup truck that evening. 3 boxes and a duffel bag contained all that was important. We believed the time had come. Dad says, bringing me back to the here and now. He points to the minivan that Kayla has parked behind his SUV. The trunk filled with baggage is open. It's time to bring our family back together under one roof. My front porch thuds with the luggage. Then a second mother approaches and grabs the security chain. The remarks were as painful as a punch after all we've done for you. They've done everything for me, even forcing me to sleep in a storage room that was converted while Kayla enjoyed the large bedroom. When I ventured to complain, it was like informing everyone at church that I was the troublesome twin. "Tessa, please." Kayla's tone falters. "There is nowhere else for us to go." "The bank. I live here." I speak in a forceful but calm tone. "The kids have ripped the cushions off my thrift shop chair in the living room. Additionally, you weren't asked to stay." The father's grin disappears. "Listen up, young woman. No, 5 years' worth of bravery is packed in the word. You must go." The self-centered one always. My front yard is filled with the sound of my mother's voice. The woman next door, Mrs. Peterson, stops watering her flowers and tilts her head to listen to everything that is said. I still chuckle, even after we've reared you. The sound in my throat was piercing and strange. "At 17, you kicked me out. I lift myself up. There are more neighbors on their porches." Excellent. Simply ideal. Blood is meant to have a symbolic meaning. As I shut the door, Mother yells. Along with the commotion of kids and the thump of further luggage striking my doorstep, the sound reverberates throughout my deserted home. I slide down till I sit on the floor through the wood, pressing my back against the door. I hear Kayla's kids screaming, and the father's hushed voice turning and threatening Mom's dramatic sobbing. The afternoon sun catches the metal key as it glints on its hook. My rules, my home, my life. I can't let them have this. However, God, they will make an effort. The cardboard mailbox flag has been down for 2 days. To avoid having to reach inside, I fiddle with the rusted metal hinge. With its green return receipt card shouting significance, a certified letter sits in a stark white envelope. Certified only means bad news. I run my fingers over the envelopes. I only need to give it a little tug to get it in my hands. It is heavier than it ought to be. I get a kick out of the return address. Stone and Blackwell are lawyers. On my front steps, I sink. The early shade has kept the concrete chilly. Under shaking fingers, the perforated edge rips unevenly. On clean letterhead legal terms muddled together, a civil action notice, demand for family equity. A prompt answer is necessary. The name of Kayla leaps off the page. For my house, my twin sister is suing me. I attempt to make the words mean something different as I read the letter 3 times as the early light beats on my neck. They want a judge to order me to sell my house and divide the revenues as well as to share family wealth. Because family implies equal sharing and blood is blood. The letter escapes my grasp. Up until 4 p.m., my laptop's screen is glowing as I look frantically for solutions. Rights to family property, real estate claims from siblings, legal protection from litigation from family members. I keep hearing the words till I locate it. Family property issues are the area of expertise for lawyer Angela Reeves. The next morning, I spent all of my savings. I have precisely $43 left over after the retainer cost till my next paycheck. Angela's office smells like lemon furniture polish and leather after I scheduled a meeting with the lawyer. On the walls, her frame certificates shine. The accomplishments of a person who understands how to battle and prevail. Tell me everything she says. Legal pad. Are you ready? Don't omit anything. So I do. I tell her about sleeping in Grandpa Harold's vehicle and getting kicked out when I was 17. That is until Gordon discovered me in the car shop. I've been working myself to death for about 5 years, preserving every dollar that is available, figuring out how to balance accounts, fix engines, and live. Angela writes quickly and sharply while taking notes. She looks at me through the silver frames of her spectacles which catch the afternoon sun. And Harold Morgan, your granddad. Was there ever anything he said he was leaving you any type of inheritance, including cash and real estate? It's like a physical blow from the memories. The grizzled hands of Grandpa Harold resting on my shoulders. He spoke in a gruff, emotional voice. I swear you'll be looking after the tiny one. There will be funds for college when you are 18, for a new beginning. 3 months later, he passed away. I didn't see a penny. Angela quickly moves her fingers across the keyboard. On her monitor are bank data, account statements. I had no idea it existed. $76,000 has been set aside for my schooling. Retracted. My 18th birthday is in 2 days. The transfer documents mock me with my parents' signatures. While I slept in a pickup vehicle, Martin and Linda Morgan were emptying out their deceased father's account. The room slants to one side. 5 years of hardship. 5 years of work, low wage, sore muscles, and chilly nights. All because they took away what should have been my new beginning. Angela adds, "We have them," in a confident and steady tone. For fraud and inheritance theft, we are bringing a countersuit. However, I require everything. Bank statements, employment documents, and pictures of your residence. Anything that demonstrates how you managed to live after being expelled. The next day, I deliver her a cardboard box. Each and every job's pay stub. Bank records demonstrating my gradual escape from poverty. Gordon snapped pictures of me dozing off in the vehicle. Evidence in case I ever vanished. He feared my parents would file a missing persons report. Try to make me go home. They didn't. Angela spreads the material on her desk and adds, "We need character witnesses. People who can attest to your honesty and work ethic." "Gordon," I say right away, from the car dealership. I was discovered by him. That following day, they gave me an opportunity. Gordon shows up at Angela's workplace 3 hours later wearing his favorite flannel shirt, which he keeps for special events. Even though his hands are clean, his knuckles still have engine oil marks on them. He shares everything with Angela, discovers me curled up in the truck, offers me a job rather than charity, and watches as I master every facet of vehicle maintenance via sheer willpower. His rough voice is warmed by pride as he continues, "I've never seen anyone work harder." She never once voiced any complaints despite working 16-hour days, sometimes juggling the business and her night jobs. Angela's legal pad is scratched by her pen, and you gave her a place to stay. Finally, in the rear of the store. Gordon says there wasn't much, but it was warm, had a restroom, and provided her with a lockable door so she had a safe haven when they threw her out. My throat gets constricted. I look at my hands, which created my existence out of nothing while my family subsisted on my pilfered inheritance. They are grizzled and helpless. Angela shuffles papers into a tidy stack and says, "Miss Morgan, we have a very solid case for fraud based on the evidence. You were formally named as the beneficiary of the inheritance account. The desires of your grandparents were well recorded. It was not your parents' place to handle that money." She specifies a damage amount. $76,000 plus legal expenses, mental pain, and interest. My life would be altered once more by the number. Will it suffice, I request that they refrain from attempting to seize my residence. The grin of Angela. Remain still. They'll regret starting this argument by the time I'm finished. You know, are you prepared for war? My little home comes to mind, fought with years of effort and perspiration. Imagine my parents unpacking luggage as if they had a claim to my life and Carla's kids running about my living room. Imagine spending my education funds while sleeping in a truck. Yes, I say, sounding more confident than I actually am. I'm prepared. Once alert and content, Angela nods. Let's bury them in paperwork after that. Justice is a topic your family wants to discuss. All right. While she organizes our defense, let's demonstrate to them what justice looks like. I'm reflecting on the past. Tears were streaming silently down my face. The windows of Grandpa Harold's Ford F-150 have a sickening yellow glare from the Walmart security light. As I dig deeper into my blanket cocoon, I can hear faraway voices and the nocturnal murmurs of shopping carts. I was booted out 3 weeks ago. After 21 nights of parking lot roulette, my improvised bedroom is illuminated by the headlights of passing automobiles. I freeze and wait for the beam to go on while counting heartbeats. The fall wind rustles the tarp that is laid across the truck bed. Harold's aging steering wheel has a notch that my fingertips recognize the place where his thumb had rubbed the leather smooth during decades of early morning travels. The clock on the dashboard flickers. 4:47 a.m. It's time to go. Susan, the morning cashier who acts as though she doesn't observe me cleaning up in the restroom, begins her shift at 6 o'clock while the gas station on Maple opens at 5. My performance plays out like a dance I've done before. Take clean cloths out of the glove box. My toothbrush should be in my pocket. Do not untie your shoes before putting them on. I splash my face with cold water while the fluorescent lights of the station buzz. My uniform from the restaurant job is spotless, pushed against the rear window of the truck as I slept, but the mirror shows black bags under my eyes. Nobody will be aware. I stayed in a parking lot overnight, put in order. From the kitchen comes Clyde Bellows, serving them with a grin that requires more work than carrying the meal I balance 3 plates of eggs along my arm for 8 hours. Hun, is there anything more I can get you? I'll be in the drugstore later, stocking shelves till midnight. The someday home envelope becomes thicker every day, but it's never thick enough. I move the vehicle once every 48 hours. It's the strip mall behind the shuttered Kmart tonight. The park and ride along the highway is scheduled for tomorrow. Continue to move. Remain undetectable. The police vehicle that speeds by at 2 in the morning fails to see the 17-year-old girl snuggled up behind a tarp. In a city filled with ancient trucks, this one is just another. Sleet drums against the metal roof as the October rain changes to sleet. I huddle in the truck, my breath fogging the glass. The truck bed is too chilly to sleep in. The wet pavement reflects the red neon sign of the car store. There is a lot of darkness at Gordon's automotive repair, which is protected by oak trees. Only tonight, I believe. Until the storm passes, that is. There is a crack of thunder. I wake up to a knock on my window and Knuckles, a guy with lined features and steel gray hair, concerned peers, inscribed in the folds surrounding his eyes. My heart is thumping. I reach beneath the seat and get Harold's old wrench, all set to run and battle, make it through. The shop will open in 10 minutes, he replies in a firm yet rough voice, nor hostile nor furious, only expressing a fact. Someone to sweep up would be helpful. Makes $8 per hour. The wrench quivers in my grasp. I am not in need of charity. Well, because I'm not providing any. Do you want the job? I uncurl my fingers from the wrench through the glass stained with rain. I look at his face. No sympathy. Don't judge. Just the store and the basic math of work. Smells of rubber and oil metal and potential. Gordon points out the location of the broom to me, indicates the places that require sweeping. I'm rearranging his file cabinet by lunchtime. I'm writing up service tickets and taking phone calls by closing, recognizing the distinctions between conventional and synthetic oil. In the vehicle, you sleep. When you go, you lock the gate. Gordon places a ring of keys on the desk and adds, that night. I'm not asking. I'm not passing judgment. Only providing options and data. In 2 months, we will investigate. Gordon shows me how to diagnose engine knocks, repair alternators, and change brake pads. The workday at the petrol station lasts from 7 to late, each and every dime. One more pillar in my future's foundation. I study manuals at lunch breaks and attend online accounting classes in between oil changes. The girl has no idea what she's about. When I inform a customer that his timing belt has to be replaced, he sneers. Get a real mechanic for me. The metal shavings crunch beneath Gordon's feet. He doesn't talk, just crosses his arms and stands behind me. Awaiting. I guide the client through the diagnostic procedures, highlighting wear patterns, metallic debris, and warning indications of imminent failure. My voice remains steady. Technical? Yes. Gordon gives me a single nod when I'm done and goes back to his office. The repair is scheduled by the client. The rear room turns into a haven for me. A lamp for studying at night, a small dresser, and a narrow cot. No more sleeping beneath tarps or playing parking lot roulette. I put my first bonus check in the someday home envelope. Slowly but surely, the pile of invoices builds. Winter gives way to spring, melts, and turns into summer. As the seasons change, my understanding grows. computer diagnostics, electrical systems, and transmissions. There is a larger queue of consumers waiting for the lady mechanic. My savings account is gradually growing, dollar for dollar, dream by dream. My credit report makes the realtor flinch. 5 years' worth of income records, no debt, saved a down payment, pennies by precious. You have never missed a payment on anything, she adds as she shuffles documents. Not a single late mark. I wipe away my tears as she pulls me back to reality. I'm thinking back on my first visit here a month ago later that evening at home. I used Harold's old pen to sign the mortgage papers. I steady my hand. Even though the key was light in my hand, it kept me grounded. My own life, my own walls, and my own roof, constructed from the ground up. I laid a sleeping bag down on the vacant living room floor that first night. The home spoke in the language of fresh beginnings as it nestled around me and creaked. I observed stars spinning across the sky through the glass. The distance from that first night in the Walmart parking lot is shown by a pinprick of light for each one. I had plans to paint my walls, buy furniture, and grow flowers in my own soil tomorrow. However, I listened to the sound of liberation as I lay there in the silence that night. Blessing the ghosts of parking lots gone by, it hums through deserted halls like a prayer of gratitude, and the oil-smeared angels who showed me how to reconstruct a life and create an engine. There is no fear in the dark. I have now surveyed its regions, learnt its language, and established my territory inside its boundaries. The aroma of opportunity is inhaled with every breath. Let go of the last remnants of dread. I eventually let sleep in by closing my eyes. I lay down home in the same spot every week. My chest resonates with the word, similar to a blessing, like a pledge fulfilled, as if a key were turning in a lock that opened to chambers I had created. What would I have done with these work boots? Let them inquire. How I decided to create instead of break. Every mile contains the solution. Every hour worked was driven. Each and every dollar saved. It resides in this moment's silent victory. I am lying on the floor of my own house, encircled by walls I had earned, protected by a roof that I had purchased with perseverance and sweat, and the straightforward denial of being broken. You ascend like this. This is the rebuilding process. You get home to yourself like this. 2 days later, my narrative is told in red thread and post-it notes on Angela's wall timeline. The folks who were supposed to safeguard me manipulated me strategically for 5 years. In vivid, black ink, my eyes follow the notes on the map. The inheritance account of the parents is empty. $76,000. Kayla's Maui destination wedding. Linda's down payment on her new SUV. Near the bottom, Angela touches a yellow post-it note. They began keeping an eye on your residence at this point. Recalling Mrs. Peterson's anxious expression at my door, I nod. Someone phoned me last week to ask whether I had noticed any odd males coming to visit, claimed to be worried about my mental health. Traditional methods of intimidation. Angela modifies her spectacles with wire rims. They are attempting to make you doubt yourself and isolate you. Her desk is covered in evidence of my autonomous existence. Pay stubs from the cleaning service petrol station and car repair business. A picture of my first few months of sleep in Grandpa Harold's ancient Ford. Every dollar I saved and every additional shift I worked is documented in my bank statements. According to Angela, your paper trail is flawless. They cannot claim that any of the money originated from them. Later that day, a vehicle horn blares outside on the street. I recoil, then push my shoulders back. Father showed up at Gordon's business yesterday, looking worried, smiling, and speaking in a calm manner. He said to the other mechanics, "I just want to talk sense into my little girl." After throwing him out, Gordon took an hour to show me how to make adjustments to a timing belt. The terror washed away by his calm words. "We should rehearse your testimony at Angela's office a week later. Assuming the grim demeanor of an opposing attorney, she sits behind her desk. You were fed and housed by your parents for 17 years. Miss Morgan, isn't that right? They fulfilled the bare minimum mandated by the law. Now the words flow more easily, honest but practiced. In order to make place for Billy's kid, they then kicked me out. And you never sought their assistance. Asking meant owing, as I discovered early on. Instead, I went with independence. Angela gives a nod. I'm happy. Excellent. Straightforward. Unambiguous. Your tone isn't resentful. The judge will. We are interrupted by a knock. Carol. Angela. The secretary peers in. I apologize for interrupting, but Tessa once again had supper from Mrs. Davidson. My throat gets constricted. My neighbors have supported Mrs. Davidson's lasagna ever since the litigation began. Mr. Wilson is assisting with the installation of security cameras by bringing his gear. Clients of the car dealership who ask the women technicians to work on their vehicles and who sign remarks regarding my personality. I manage, thank you. Inform her that tomorrow I will return the dish. Carol pauses. Your parents are in the lobby as well. The coldness spreads through my chest, familiar. Angela gets up, her face stiffening. There's no appointment for them. Kayla is with them. All 4 children. Naturally. Their preferred weapon. Kayla's tears. The kids' perplexity. A sight to make me less determined. Take the rear exit, Angela recommends. I collect my files and shake my head. No, I've finished my run. Between me and the glass doors is an infinite lobby. First to see me, Mother rushes forward with well-honed anxiety. Please, Tessa, this is something that our family can resolve. Family, it's a harsh term. What do you mean by the time you took my inheritance? Father comes forward. Kayla's youngest child. Balancing on his hip. Right now, princess. Both of our girls were supposed to get that money. All we did was lie. The marble floor echoes with my words. Falsified records. Pay for Kayla's wedding using my college funds. I required assistance. Kayla murmurs. With wide, bewildered eyes, her kids cling to her legs. You were always the one with strength. At 17, strong enough to sleep in a vehicle. Able to work 3 jobs when you were getting married on the beach. My mother grabs my arm. I take a step back. She adds, we'll drop our suit. To start over, simply drop yours. Get back to being a true family. The bitterness of the laugh surprises me as it bursts forth. A true family? Do you want my house? My funds? All I created while you were robbing me of my future? Money is not as important as blood. Dad says, blood. I look him in the eye. In court, I'll see you. As I go, the back of my neck aches. Behind me, their voices rose. In my pocket, however, my steps are steady. My palms are pressed on my home key, firm and authentic. I sat by myself in my living room that evening, encircled by the life I've created. As I go through old family photos on my phone, Grandpa Harold's image stares from the mantel. Before the twins were the favorite and the spare mother at my 8th grade graduation, Kayla and I were 10 years old. She stopped coming to my activities after that. Before he decided I wasn't worth the effort, my father taught me how to replace a tire when I was 13. My phone is buzzing. Gordon, just checking in, little one. I'm grounded by his voice. Reminds me of honest labor timing belts and oil changes. Tomorrow is a big day. I'm prepared. You're absolutely correct. Tomorrow, the store will close. All of us will be present. I reach over to my bedside table and touch Grandpa Harold's old work watch. The face is damaged and the leather band is fractured. But like me, it maintains perfect timing. Weather-worn, but dependable. Surviving, but scarred. I'll wear it to court tomorrow. I'll confront the relatives who abandoned me tomorrow, with the family I choose, standing behind me. The watch in the silent room ticks slowly, observing time, maintaining faith, sustaining my progress, a moment at a time. The courthouse stairs were white in the morning light the next day. Grandpa Harold's art has a weathered edge that my fingertips follow. Through the hefty wooden doors, I can feel the softness of its leather band against my wrist. Marble floors reverberate with voices. Justice in motion, a symphony. "Are you ready?" Gordon queries, his grizzled face furrowed with worry. I adjust my crisply polished blazer and nod. My hands are still bare after 5 years of oil stains and coveralls, but judicial etiquette has taken their place. A mechanic's honest calluses. The entrance to the courtroom opens. The first scent of Mother's perfume is the same overpowering jasmine she wore the night she urged me to go. The father's look is unwavering as he sits perfectly next to their lawyer. With her fingers fretting over the hem of her shirt, Kayla squats in the first row. I make my way to our table, my footsteps clicking on the smooth floorboards. Bank statements, job logs, and the detritus of 5 years are all meticulously organized by Angela into exhibits and proof. The voice of the bailiff booms. Everyone gets up. Judge Eleanor Martinez examines the case file while seated behind the bench with her glasses low on her nose. At other pages, her lips become a thin line and her eyes narrow. Carla's attorney, Your Honor, stands up first, spreading in a phony show of affection. This is a straightforward family equity case. Like any caring sister, my client only wants her share of family wealth. Your Honor. Angela's chair scrapes back. Theft, not equality, is at issue in this instance. And we can show it with our documents. The testimony is measured as the morning develops. Kayla is the first to speak. On cue, tears start to flow. Growing up, we did everything together, she explains. Stuttering voice, clothing, toys, our space, until she decided to go. Tessa was never the same. Far away. When I required the room for the nursery of my first child, she simply walked out. No farewell. Don't try to solve the problem. Furthermore, she will no longer provide her own family with the blessing of a house when they are in need. Our table's silky wood makes my fingers curl. Even while ancient wounds sear beneath my flesh, my visage remains neutral because to 5 years of meticulously constructed control. Then the father speaks, the power in his well-known pastor's voice resonating. Naturally, the legacy was intended for both daughters. That's what Harold would have wanted. We just handled it the way devoted parents ought to. These credit card statements, too. Angela displays a pile of documents. Welcome to Alaska. The country club membership, the new automobile. Were those purchases made with the knowledge of loving parents as well? Floods of color. The face of the father. We were due. He stops himself. In other words, we believed that upholding certain social duties was beneficial for the family's standing. The reputation of the family, Angela says softly. And did you let your 17-year-old daughter sleep in a vehicle for the sake of the family's reputation? The courtroom echoes with Mother's sudden intake of breath. Gordon's testimony hits their meticulously crafted falsehoods like hammer blows. I discovered her curled up in that ancient Ford. Mid-January. The windows were covered with a thick layer of frost. His voice is heavy with recollected rage. Put in more work than any 3 individuals I've ever met. 16-hour days, occasionally longer. I never voiced any complaints. Never requested freebies. She earned every dime that entered that house by just keeping her head down. The judge saw through pretense with her inquiries. Why, specifically, did you urge your 17-year-old daughter to go, Mr. Morgan? We didn't inquire. Father moves around in his chair. In other words, by making her homeless, we were teaching her character and responsibility. The pen rests on the judge's desk. When she departed, did you report her missing? Oh no, but did you try to find her? We thought she was hanging out with pals. Have you checked quiet? Like a tight wire, it stretches. The judge turns to his mother, Mrs. Morgan. According to these bank documents, $76,000 was taken out of an account that was legally set up for Tessa's education. Where's that money now? Mother touches the gold crucifix that hangs there as her fingers dart to her throat. Family costs. The wedding of Kayla, The nursery, as any mother would. Items that are specifically prohibited under the inheritances stipulations. With finality, the judge closes the case. I've had enough. The decision is as sudden as summer thunder. With prejudice, the plaintiff's complaint is dismissed. The sound of every syllable echoes off the marble walls. In addition, I support the defendant's countersuit. The entire $76,000 plus 5% annual interest computed from the date of withdrawal must be repaid by the defendants Martin and Linda Morgan. $25,000 in additional punitive damages are granted for legal expenses and mental suffering. 15 minutes later, microphones protruded from the reporters' cluster outside like sparrows. How does it feel to defeat your own family? Miss Morgan, will you forgive your parents, Tessa? How would you advise people who are dealing with family betrayal? Over the commotion, Mother's voice can be heard. Please, Tessa, you still have us as your parents. Blood is blood. I warm my cheeks against the sun. I say, my voice echoing over the courthouse steps. Today isn't about winning. The truth is at issue. Understanding the distinction between the family you are born into and the family you create is sometimes the most difficult reality. Gordon and my shop workers are waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Their well-known faces glow with pride and a deeper quality. The selected family's ties were established in trust and cemented over time. I don't turn around. I turn to leave the cameras behind. From the remnants of past suffering, from the shadows of what ought to have been a family. With each step I take toward a future based on my own reality, Grandpa Harold's watch gradually ticks away against my wrist. Mother makes a final call behind me. Don't you dare leave us again, Tessa. However, I continue to walk, because it's not always cowardice to walk away. The boldest thing you can do is this. I'll never again let them make fun of me. As I water my newly planted marigolds 6 months later, the brass home key gleams in the early sun. Blooms of yellow and orange nod in the light wind. As the light rises, their faces turn. After a month, the certified check from my parents is still sealed in its envelope and rests on the porch swing behind me. My garden shovel, covered in new soil from yesterday's herb planting, leans against the wooden fence. Simple plants that flourish with proper care include mint, rosemary, and sage. My home has developed around me, much like me on the inside. Now facing east, the armchair from the thrift store is ideal for coffee in the morning. Purchased for $3 at a church sale, the silky Afghan curtains recline back. The sunshine is filtered by simple drapes, making my hardwood floors butter yellow. My gravel walkway is crunched by the mailman's footsteps. Definitely more cards from my relatives. Next to the takeout menus and extra batteries, the expanding stack is left unopened in my kitchen drawer. Mother put a letter with tears in it through my postal slot last week. About beginning over as a true family, the father left another message yesterday. With the exception of one cream-colored envelope with recognizable handwriting, the mail primarily consists of bills and rubbish that fall through the slot. Kayla once more. The porch rail is buzzing with my phone. Gordon's name appears on the screen and they have a 20-minute meeting to discuss the manager post. Bringing donuts, he writes in his text. A grin pulls at my mouth. Gordon only ever delivers large quantities of donuts. It must be the promotion we spoke about last week. 5 years of brake work and oil changes. Every engine that came into the shop was learned, remaining late to complete the papers. Everything has led to this point. I look at the check on my porch swing once more. Plenty of money left over after 2 years of community college business programs. In some ways, the justice seems vacuous, like attempting to assign a monetary value on 5 years of hardship. But the future it may create, it's worth every penny. Dark areas appear in the dirt when my garden hose drops slowly. A robin approaches, probing the wet ground for earthworms. I know this is what tranquility feels like. The existence of growth, not the lack of conflict. I enter to change for work as the screen door creaks. The barren walls of my living room now contain carefully selected fragments of my life. Next to my first pay stub from Gordon's store is the framed home key. Beneath them, Grandpa Harold's silver frame grins. The corners of his kind eyes wrinkle. On the coffee table, my treatment diary is open. The entry from last night is still visible. In the same setting that caused your illness, you cannot recover. Our most recent session with Dr. Chen. When I informed her about establishing boundaries with my family, she gave me a nod of approval. My front windows let in early light, which creates patterns on the floor. This home is more than simply a place to stay. It is evidence that damaged foundations can be repaired. Every mortgage payment, meticulous repair, and minor enhancement serves as evidence of what perseverance can create out of nothing. A shadow moves by my window. At Gordon's store across the street, a girl about 16 looks through the window. Her backpack bulges with what appears to be everything she possesses, and her clothes hang loosely. My throat gets constricted. That look is familiar to me. Her methodical examination of the structure, wondering if it may provide refuge. By the door, my work boots are waiting. The lace from yesterday's shift is still knotted. I pick them up along with my wallet and keys. When I cross the street, the girl seems startled, but I think my face reassures her. Assistance is needed. Her voice hardly reaches the other side of the parking lot. I recall Gordon catching me dozing off in my pickup on that wet morning and giving me a broom rather than sympathy. Someone has to sweep the shop for us, I inform her. Take it first. See where it takes you. Her eyes flash with hope. It was the same fervent expectation I had 5 years prior. When can I begin right now? I turn on the lights and unlock the business entrance. My name is Tessa. Cleaning a workstation correctly is the first thing we teach here. Her footsteps are tentative on the concrete floor as she follows me inside. As she waits for the catch, her shoulders remain taut. The point at which goodwill becomes hate. I understand it as well. What's your name? I take out the broom and ask. Jenny. Here's the thing, Jenny. Put in a lot of effort. Learn as much as you can. Tell the truth. We just expect that. I point to her backpack for the remainder. You are in charge of it, until you choose to inform us. She blinks back the tears that build up in her eyes. A strong girl, survivor. I start by giving her the handle of the broom. Begin in the rear corner. Make your way forward. Have any inquiries? She clutches the broom like a lifeline and shakes her head. Dust particles are caught in the beam of the early sun as it shines through the storefront windows. They whirl in the light like little stars. Mother's number appears on the screen as my phone buzzes once again. I glance at Jenny, who is already sweeping with intense focus. I'm across the street at my house. The porch trellis I constructed last weekend is being climbed by morning glory at the future, unwritten and brimming with potential stretching out before me. The phone continues to ring. Without hesitation, I push quiet. You don't have to answer every call. Pruning certain gardens carefully can improve their growth. Some families are selected based more on goodwill than blood. Even now, my garden hose continues to leak over the street. I'm feeding the marigolds that I planted in the morning. With proper care, they will bloom throughout the summer. I now have some knowledge about that. About fostering strength from ashes, about cultivating things. Gordon arrives in the parking lot with his vehicle. You can see the pink bakery box on the passenger seat. With each broom stroke, Jenny sweeps methodically in the rear, a tiny gesture of trust, and the concrete beneath my feet will warm when the sun rises higher tomorrow. This is the appearance of healing, the presence of fresh growth, not the lack of scars. The planting of future gardens, not the forgetting of old scars. It's time to start working.